I could take my time. That's a really big one because so many times we hire when we're in a crunch. You really want to hire before you get to that because what happens is when you hire when you're in a crunch, you may end up settling or you may not pick the best fit.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and it is part 2 of a terrific series with the founder of Exceptional Tax Services, Nacondra Moran. In this episode, she'll dive into overcoming burnout, aligning your business with your values, and using content to attract ideal clients. All right, let's check out that conversation right now. Where did you end up with your pricing? You probably started it hourly, I'm guessing, and then how did it evolve from there? Or maybe it didn't, but I'd love to hear that a little bit.
Oh my gosh. When we first started, now listen, this was back in 2016. So I think my first price, I think I quoted I'm so embarrassed. It was like $100 a month for monthly bookkeeping, financials, reconciliation, monthly calls.
It's like
It was
everything for you, and I'm going to pay you to bring on,
it was
pay you to be our client. Yeah,
it was ridiculous. It was really low, and then I got the scope of work, and then I quickly realized that I had really underpriced. And that was the most painful experience. And I had other experience after that. So now the way that we package now is a lot different. So we package by bank accounts and transactions. Those are our main buckets. We have a base rate that we start at. And for our industry, our base rate is $420. Now, our base rate only includes up to a certain amount of bank accounts and up to a certain amount of transactions, and it doesn't have any add-ons. So add-ons would be like if you want us to invoice, if you want us to handle any payroll, like particularly like if you're using like Gusto, any contractor stuff, any like any of that invoicing, accounts receivable, all of those types of things, those would be add-ons. And so really over the years, we have really refined to where they can choose a base rate and then there are these add-ons depending on the level of support that they need, depending on, how many quarterly meetings you need or like what that looks like for you. And so our packaging looks a lot better versus back in the day when I was quoting prices, it was all inclusive. I didn't have any boundaries, nor did I set any like specificity to like how what was included with, for example, $150 a month. And so as a result of that, if you don't set those boundaries, the client will expect it all. And then if you don't have an engagement letter or things like that that really help you create those boundaries, you end up really having a lot of scope creep. So I'd say over the years, through those experiences, I have refined a lot about what my client really needs at a most basic level. This is what we call essentials. And then we have the plus stuff that the clients may want to add on, depending on the level of complexity that they have to their business, whether that's budgeting, whether that's any kind of forecasting. So we do it all, but we have really good packages now that reflect the level of support they want so that they're able to decide if they want to invest in that support.
very cool. It sounds like you've got it figured out. What helped you get there to this setup? Were there training that you did? Did you figure it out all on your own?
Mhm. No, I've been in many bookkeeping groups over the years. And I understand that, everybody's niche may be different. For our particular niche, those prices are pretty much comparable to other people in our niche. I know some other people who may be in construction or other companies, their pricing is much, much different. I would say I have invested in a lot of other business groups and business trainings, whether it be for bookkeeping, mentorship, and I can name them if you like, Michael. But I've been in a lot of like other programs that have allowed me to not only get education as far as like bookkeeping and best practices, but also the business side and being able to be around other people who are growing businesses just like me that that you can talk to and you can bounce ideas off of, and those things help you grow as well.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Tired of juggling manual admin and everyday practice tasks when you'd rather be nurturing more valuable client relationships? With the new Sage for Accountants, you can automate daily tasks and unlock not only more efficiency, but more time for valuable client collaboration with all the tools you need, including accounting, payroll, client management, and more, all in one place. Get real-time reports to make informed decisions, eliminate hours of paperwork, and say hello to stress-free bookkeeping and practice management with a centralized solution backed by expert human support. Learn more about the new Sage for Accountants or get started for free at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/sage. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. Yeah, magically, really, when we think of nobody's successful in a silo. There's always somebody and multiple people, typically groups and people, mentors at every level. It's the people you want to be. It's the people right next to you going on the same path. And it's the people behind you that you support along the way to help them get somewhere that helps you as well in the future. There's all these different things. And that's such an important piece. And I'm not surprised that you've invested heavily into, being in these programs and working with other people and being a learner. That's what you have to do as an entrepreneur. And you can get there a lot faster if you're surrounded by people who are on the same trajectory or trying to get to the same place, and hopefully some of those people are already at the destination or, have arrived at one of those milestones that you want to get to, which is cool. Now,
Yeah.
that was pricing. You mentioned hiring. That's another big one. And, how long did it take for you to get to where you'd hired a person onto your team, and what were some of the pros and cons of that?
I think my first hire was around 20, like about 3.5 years after I started my business. And I really just, hire an assistant, like someone that can help me for a couple of hours with like the admin stuff. And so I think for my hiring process, I first went from hiring contractors to really wanting somebody full time, wanting somebody completely dedicated to my business because of how my business had grown. So, in the very beginning, contractors really served me, being able to have them for one off projects or just like project management. So, I think just wherever you are in your business kind of determines the level of support. But for me, my first hire was an assistant, and then my second hire was a bookkeeper. And in the prior years, that was kind of what I was hiring for as well, but some worked out and some did not. But now, what my firm looks like today are two full time employees that are working with me. But in the beginning, I had contractors that were working.
Nice. And congratulations. What would be some of the things that you would recommend people think about when they're about to hire their first team member?
I would say, what exactly do you need them to do? Like, really understanding what the job description is that you're looking for, And I mean, I didn't have all of my back end SOPs and workflows and things like that together. But once I hire, they can also help you with that if you have clear vision. So I would say clear vision or some kind of clarity to what you are looking for in your business, I think is very important because when you bring someone in, especially in the very beginning, you kind of need that clarity in order for you to build out what you see for your business. And nobody can really do that but you. You can have business advice and things like that. But to me, that clarity is so key. And so I would say that's the biggest advice that I would give for anybody about to hire. Now, for me, I ended up reaching out to someone who was a HR consultant that really helped me figure out my salaries, figure out the work description, all of the things that I desire in an employee and the things I didn't desire. So if I'm working virtually, do I want someone on the web, do I want someone in my time zone or am I okay taking someone who's in a completely different time zone than me? Just the little things that you may not think about but could be very important once you onboard that client, onboard that employee. Those are things that my HR consultant really helped me dive down so that I could really hire someone that was not only a fit for the skill that I was looking for, but also a cultural fit for our branding, for our company as well. All of those pieces are great. I mean, you hear this all the time. Like a person may be skillfully a good fit, but may not be culturally a good fit or may not have the skills that your clients may need to communicate in certain ways or things like that. So there's all kind of mismatched of people that you may hire that may not end up being a good fit for your small team. And so those are some things that I kind of hit roadblocks with as I hired. Even if you want more hours, does that person only want to stay as a contractor? Do they only want to work certain hours? And as your business grows, how do you deal with that? So, those were just a lot of different things that I dealt with as I hire contractors and employees in my business.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those. There's so many pieces to the hiring, which is you've said a lot of them. Is a culture fit? Do they have the skills? Do they want to be there? Why are they there? What's drive? Are they moving away from something? Or are they moving towards something? Do they want full time? Do they want part time? Why do they want part time? Is this temporary? There's all these things, and people aren't going to tell you what the truth is. They're going to tell you what serves them, and that's what humans are doing. They're survival, right? They're people looking for work. They're in a survival mode. People aren't going to. They're going to use certain tools in their tool belt in a survival mode situation if they're moving away from something or trying to get away from something versus somebody who's very figured out and knows exactly what they're moving towards. They're not in a survival mode. They're in an optimization mode, a growth mode. And so depending on where that person is and where they're trying to get to, there's all sorts of things that can happen that would have you hire the wrong person. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of energy that goes into hiring team members, a lot of energies. It's
Yeah.
like underestimated how long
Absolutely.
it'll take, how much you'll need to train them, how quickly,
Yeah.
and everyone's different. They learn differently. I remember speaking with a big executive at General Motors,
Mhm.
way up at the top, like led the Australian general division of General Motors, and he's like, people do not. He does not expect anyone that he hires to know what they're doing
Mhm.
for the first 4 months.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, that's a lot of time. It's like, so number
Yeah.
one, in a big company like General Motors, you can afford to have
Ab
someone take 4 months to get up to speed and do all the bits and
Yeah.
bobs and know where they are and know what they're doing. In a small
Yeah.
business, you want that day one. Like, what have you done for
Yeah.
me lately is day one. And
Yeah.
so these are challenges that small businesses face. And
Mm.
you've been experiencing that, and you've been able to figure out a team of bookkeepers that are working for you. And it probably took you a while. How many people did you have to hire to get to your two that you have
Oh,
now?
Good, great question.
Yeah,
I would I would say 1, about 4.
before.
About about 4
Yeah.
bookkeepers before I really found what I call my unicorn, my really good fit, but after every one, I learned something. I learned a different approach that could make sure that, the next time when I'm looking for someone, I can ask the right questions. I could take my time. That's a really big one because so many times we hire when we're in a crunch. You really want to hire before you get to that because what happens is when you hire when you're in a crunch, you may end up settling or you may not pick the best fit. And so really hiring a little bit before you are ready is more ideal because you're not really in that crunch time that could make you settle. So I would say probably around 4 before I really found someone, and then through that I was able to refine more and more about, okay, these are the hours, these are the expectations. No, this person cannot be a contractor. I actually need to control the hours. This person needs to be an employee. Like just laser focus, really starting to figure out. And when you are in a lot of business groups and things like that, and whatever advice you get, it's not a one size fits all to the landscape of entrepreneurship. You have some people that are growing and they want to endlessly scale. You have some people where they desire to kind of have like the 4-hour work week. They just want to grow in. They really want freedom and flexibility. They are not really trying to grow into this huge firm. And I think alignment is really key because when you are listening to all of this advice, a lot of it is like, okay, kind of from a voice of endless scaling in a sense. But I've learned that over the times, the more laser focused I've gotten about exactly how I envision my firm to be, how I want my firm to be, it has allowed me to actually really put those pieces together to help get the team support that I actually need as well. And that's that clarity piece.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's also, I think, something to be aware of. That I'm sure people are aware of it. We're all aware of it as we grow up in life. Is that some people know what they're talking about and some don't, and sometimes it's hard to tell which is who. Like you can be in a group of people where it's like, oh, yeah, you look really successful and you got all these great ideas, but is that the truth? Is that actually what's happening for them? And then you meet the people who are just very transparent, very authentic. They share everything. They give the, this is what I've done and how it's worked.
Yeah,
And then, like you've said, not everyone can apply the same strategy and accept the
right.
same results. You've got to figure it out and test. And it's just endless testing that happens throughout your career as an entrepreneur, and find those unicorn mentors, unicorn collaborators, if you will. You found the unicorn staff. It's like those
Mhm,
people that you really know. This is what they've done. They
mhm.
have the business that's working. They have great advice, and I can trust that advice that if I apply
Right.
that advice, it's probably going to work for me as well. Not
Mhm.
everybody's going to be like that. So you're also, you're searching for great people. You're searching for great people to be advisors and collaborators and colleagues, that sort of thing, that you find in different groups. But it's a risky one because people can say, "Oh, hey, go do this, go spend that," and it could be completely for nothing and be very wasteful of your time, money, and energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So definitely a lot of learning lessons there.
Now, we've tackled a lot. We could probably keep on tackling all sorts of things, but we'll look. I'd like to learn a little bit more about your podcast and some other things that you're doing. People are going to want to learn more about you, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But let's you do a podcast. How long have you been doing it? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So I have a podcast called House of CEO, and it's really just for our accounting firm where we just talk about all types of things, but it kind of also intersects. It talks about accounting, but it also talks about just the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and just what that looks like. Because really around like that 2022, that around that range, I had the worst stint of burnout that I had ever experienced in my life. And I really think it was just a lot of the things of how I built my business coming to a head, a lot of the decisions that I had made, and then also just this pressure that I had put on myself and just managing the team, managing being a mom, all the different hats that we wear. And I speak a lot about that in my podcast as well as my Substack, where I just talk about what that looks like to really grow an intentional business. So, a lot of the podcast, of course, is around finances, numbers, and things like that. But it's also kind of the behind the scenes of what it has been like for me along my journey to find that alignment for myself in growing my business.
Very cool. Very cool. It sounds like a great one. And you started it back in 2021, or when did you start the podcast?
I started yeah, it actually was around that time I started the podcast. I would say probably around 2020 is when we first got started.
So this is like almost at the beginning or through like right in COVID, the whole
Right.
COVID thing, which we don't talk about COVID too much anymore, which is nice.
Yeah.
Uh, but that was right around then. What's it been like producing a podcast? You do it for your accounting firm. You have listeners. I'm sure people learn
Mhm.
about you. I'd love to learn what it's been like producing a podcast. Have you seen benefits? What are the pros and cons of doing a podcast?
I love the podcast. I feel like it has given a lot to our business in the sense of more of a trust factor when they get to hear you over and over again, your episodes and the information that you want to provide. They are able to also see you in the light of other people that come on the podcast. And so I'd say the podcast has really helped us from a marketing perspective to be able to reach others and to really gain that know, like, and trust factor over time. And then also, I would say that the podcast has really helped me, be able to, meet people who also podcast. I mean, it's just a whole another world of marketing, right? So I would say the podcast has really helped us from a marketing perspective. And it's not like, if you go on Facebook and you do like a live or Instagram and you do like a live, it's like people will binge watch your podcast. They'll go all the way back to season 1 or they'll go back to the beginning and they'll listen to all of those podcasts. So to me, I feel like it really is a great story brand for our firm for sure as far as, us and like different facets of like our services, what we teach, what we believe in our firm, and it allows us to attract more of our ideal client.
It's very cool, and you've been doing it a while. There's so many benefits to, as you've mentioned, like people listening to you, getting to know you, which is interesting. Have you experienced? So people, how do they find out about the podcast? Like, I'd love to hear how, from a marketing perspective, people listen and then they reach out. Do you experience that people actually go, "Hey, I wanna have you working with us"?
Yeah, people find us all types of ways. I'd say through a lot of some of the internal like brand partnerships that we've created. Even hearing about me, a lot of what's on the podcast is also in video form on YouTube. So that also helps. People can find us there. We embed it, of course, in our newsletters. We embed it also like in my Substack. So there's many ways to get to the podcast. We market it everywhere through our Instagrams and our Facebook and things like that. So I think just a mix of all of the different people that we have on the podcast that share it, the different partnerships that we have, and then just our general branding, and then YouTube and other avenues that we put it on is how people mostly get to us. And a lot of people come to us for consults and they've already listened to the podcast. They can say things that they know about me, about my story, things that they reference from the podcast. Because really, a lot of clients really like authenticity. They like to know about the owner and their life and how they got started. And so I share very transparently about that. And I think my clients like it. And they bring a lot of those stories and their versions of their stories that kind of mimic what I went through as well. And they share those with me. And that really creates a lot of connection as well to some of the people that we work with.
Really exciting, it's just that one bit of people being able to watch you, hear your take on thing, figure out what you're all about, and that's how you're trying to find the birds of the feather, right? That flock together. And if people aren't liking what you're up to or liking what you're talking about, well, perfect, go somewhere else. They already know. They self-select, right? Whether they like you, and it's
Right.
the whole know, like, and trust, right? And a
Right.
podcast or a video YouTube channel, any kind of content, video is so powerful, right? It's like if a picture's worth 1,000 words, well, how many is a video worth? It's a lot of words that can help someone get to know you. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work, though, right? It's a lot of work to do the
Mhm.
podcast, and you've been doing it since 2020. That's a good chunk of time. Do you do it
Yeah,
every week? Is it once a month? What's the
I'm probably not as consistent as you, Michael.
We've never missed a beat. I tell you, that's the one thing. When we started, we're like, we're putting out an episode every week and we won't miss out. I mean, I think what's his name? The guy, Entrepreneur on Fire, forget his name. He does it every day, every business day. I think maybe even weekends. It's to do that is remarkable, but it's hard enough for us to put out a show a week. But I think it's one of those things where you don't have it's up to you, right? Any content's better than no content, in my opinion, and it's maybe something for our listener to think about is like, how are
Yeah.
you getting you out there, right? So many websites you go to and you see, okay, there's not even a picture of the person that's running the firm. You don't have any clarity
Yeah.
around the structure of the firm. Who's the owner? Like, what are they like? What are they, what's even an about us page or about me page with a picture and some text is more than most have. Like but if you had some video on there, maybe talking about a few things, guest appearances on some podcasts, that goes a long way to build your persona for somebody in a digital way that you could share on the LinkedIn or your social media or just on your about page is better than nothing. So podcast's a big one, but then there's so many other little things you could do to sort of replicate that and improve it. But good for you for doing it and for producing it and that it's producing results. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, that's the important piece.
I would also say it's also just so important for our industry because we're in a industry that people kind of notoriously fear, like some people don't like talking about their finances. Some people don't like, talking about, money. Money creates there's still a lot of like mindset things behind money and fear and things like that. People who don't look at their numbers or are just it's just so many stories around that. And what I've learned, kind of like how you deal with money on the personal side, when you become self-employed, some of those same things kind of pour over to your business. And if you are someone who never looked at your numbers or were afraid of money, budgeting, and all of that, when you start your business, even if you're making good money, you may bring some of those habits over into your business. And so I think us speaking and having a voice and talking and letting people see us, I think it's important because it's such a topic that can be invoke a lot of fear for a lot of entrepreneurs, depending on the niche, of course, that you're working with. But for us, our clients are really afraid of money. A lot of them are afraid of looking at their money, the money stories. There's a lot of generational trauma behind money. So I think for me, the more that they're able to hear my story, hear my voice, even as a first generation business owner, I think it also just adds to that know, like, and trust value. And it will attract the people that do want to work with you and the people where it's like, it's too much. I don't want to hear all, it's too much for me. Then it'll repel them, and that's fine. And so
Mhm.
it all ties into the wait list, and it ties into just all the other things when you're able to like put your voice out and let people hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. You're doing a great job of it. It's been really exciting speaking with you, and got so many. We tackled a lot of things today. You've got some great insight onto a lot of it, so that's been great. What's the
Yeah.
name of your podcast? How do people find it? What's the best way to get there?
Yeah. So you can find me on Apple and Spotify. And you can go to my social media page, Nacondra Moran. But it's called The House of CEO. That's the name of the podcast. And then also you can follow my Substack journey where I am blogging, particularly to a lot of like accountants, bookkeepers that are in our industry, just about what it looks like and feels like to really build an intentional business.
Very cool. Well, we'll have all of those links in the show notes so people can just go down there and click on those links and learn more about you. And I
Yeah.
want to thank you on behalf of our listener for coming
Yeah.
on the show and sharing what you know. And it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
The pleasure is all ours. What a terrific chat with Nacondra. She had quite the journey, and it was great learning about it. Some valuable insights for sure. And with that, we do wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.